Digital images are great because they can be so versatile. From small fixes to huge changes, everything can be done in the computer, and you can always keep a clean original, just in case. You can use Photoshop to touch up blemishes, add effects, and perfect your digital photos. We'll be using a photo of me as an example, but you can work with your own photos to try out what you learn. Before you get started, you might want to save a clean version of your image, or maybe just save the one you'll be working with as image 2, or something like that. You'll also want to remember to save your file along the way, and if you've made drastic changes to your image, you may want to save it under a different file name, again, using the Save As or Save a Copy option, so you have previous drafts to go back to if necessary. Once you're in Photoshop, you can bring up your image by using Control-O, or the Open option under the File menu. You can also check out the Window menu to make sure that you have all the option windows available on your desktop that you'll use most often. Feel free to pause this video to experiment a little bit after we discuss each tool. It will help to get you familiar with each before moving on. Photoshop has tools for pretty much anything you would want to do with an image. It's usually just a matter of knowing what you're going for. For instance, if you have an area in your image that's too dark, you would want to use the Dodge tool. This one here that looks like a black magnifying glass. The Dodge tool lightens the pixels it's dragged over according to the percentage chosen in the tool's options bar. This is why it's always a good idea to have your options window open. From the options bar, you can change the intensity of your Dodge tool and the size of your paintbrush, which really means the size of whatever tool you're using. With the Dodge tool, you can brighten your highlights, lighten any areas you feel were underexposed, or make certain elements really pop out. If you hold-click on the Dodge icon in the toolbar, a pop-up menu will appear. Now you can choose the Burn tool, which is represented by a little hand. This does the opposite of Dodge, darkening any area you choose. Behind the water drop icon, you will find the Focus tools. These consist of Blur and Sharpen, and are called focus tools because they can harden or soften the edges in an image, making things appear more or less in focus, like the wrinkles around eyes, perhaps. The water drop is the Blur tool, and hold-click will reveal the Sharpen and Smudge tools. Blur is incredibly useful for touching up blemishes on a person or slight marks on a scanned photo. You can use Blur to cover up all those little things that you wish had never made it into the photo. Sharpen will have the opposite effect, and sometimes you can use it to fix a photo that was just a little bit out of focus. This is when things start to get fun, and maybe a little goofy, because the Smudge tool is a lot like finger painting. Color is displaced or smudged from the place where you click, and moved in the direction you drag the cursor. How far the color goes depends on the pressure setting you choose in the options bar, and you can change the size of your finger by choosing a different brush size. You can create lots of fun and interesting effects this way, and even give your entire image the appearance of having been painted. For now, though, let's undo those smudges so that we can have a clean image. Now, if a few smudges and blurs aren't quite enough for you, you may actually be looking to remove something completely from the image. Then you are looking for the Eraser tool, which is pretty much the opposite of the Paint tool. As with other painting type tools, you can change your brush and pressure. And if you erase something that you wanted to keep, you can always undo it. Go to Edit, Undo, or hit Control-Z, and you can undo the last thing you did to your image. You might be using this a lot. Try undoing your smudge effect. You may notice that if you go back to the Edit menu, the Undo option is replaced by Redo. You can only undo your last action using this menu. If you would like to go further back, you can go to Menu, History, to open your History palette. This lets you view a list of everything you've done to your image, and then you choose what you wish to delete. The History palette is great for reviewing the changes you've made, and then going to the point where you thought your image looked best. And if you just drag these others into the trash here, gone. So far the tools we have looked at all work with the photo itself. Photoshop also has tools that simply apply effects over the image. The airbrush is a paint tool with gradual saturation and works much like a real airbrush would. A single click will apply a short burst of color, and your image will still be visible through this splash. But holding the mouse button will put out more paint and darken the color. Maybe a little color in the cheeks, or get those eyes a little deeper blue, teeth gleaming white. Yikes, the power! You can also use the line tool, represented by a diagonal line, which allows you to draw lines of any thickness chosen in the Options menu onto your image. These are the most basic image manipulation tools, and you can see from the toolbar there are a lot more available. You can explore each tool in the toolbar by playing around or using Photoshop's Help menu. You might also want to experiment with filters. Filters can be found in the Filter menu and are broken into categories like Artistic, Sharpen, and Stylize. Each of these filters has a distinct and interesting effect, and they often have their own special parameters and controls for you to choose before applying the filter to your image or layer. When you choose a filter from the Filter menu, a new window will pop up displaying the options for that filter, a preview of your image with the filter applied, and a list of other filters you can choose from. Sometimes it's fun to just go bump around in the filter control panel for a little while and see what fun effects you can create. And remember that if you don't like it, you can always undo it by hitting Control-Z. Now you know the basics of digital image manipulation, and as you master each tool, you will be able to do some pretty amazing things with Photoshop, just like we've done here with our picture. Take a look at that before and after images. That's how you get a perfect cover image.